So a very warm welcome to all of you. This is post lunch, 2 sessions afterwards. So this is absolutely the appropriate time when all the
catch a nap
happens. Fireside chat with Dheeraj Kumar Guru, who is the Director of Strategy and Growth at Yashoda Hospitals. I can tell you that I'm not a technocrat. I don't develop technology. I don't develop, I'm not a clinical practitioner either. So neither medicine nor tech is my area of operation. But I can tell you that he comes with very impressive credentials, because in journalism we say, you know, you all look through the microscope and see the micro details. And when we zoom out, we get much more perspective, we say. And in journalism, very often, when we go from one field to cover another field, somehow somebody who's been a specialist in that area perhaps doesn't see as much as somebody who's been a little withdrawn from the area, or you visit a new area, you find the same stories which the local journalist may not find. Happens in Telangana if I'm here and someone else comes and they see stories that I perhaps don't see because of that. And that's why I'm saying he comes with impressive credentials, because he's an IIT graduate from Chennai. Then he goes on to do an MBA from Duke University in the US. And then he works with BCG at Washington. And then he's done their pharma health verticals, management as well. And he afterwards started a Gravity Pharmaceuticals 2015, and that has gone on to do very, very well. So you have health, pharma, technology, AI, somebody who advocates AI very, very aggressively, I think, in his hospital, and talks about it being AI first, which really means that when you get all these together, that's where I think some more perspective comes in. When technology and healthcare, you are able to see them both together in the same thing about how it works out. So starting with this, I mean, everyone talks about AI in every field of operation. The skills that I started off as a journalist with, they're all redundant today, because AI has taken over all that. And what was very correctly mentioned, that it is experience that gives the perspective, like Harsh was just saying, that experience gives you some perspective and knowledge. In your hospital, you are now driving it with AI as one of the big focus areas as well. Is it something that every hospital is moving towards? Yashoda is making that choice. Is it an inevitable thing, or is it a choice that you have today to move towards that?
So, you know, I've been in different sessions from the morning, you know, and I just wanted to start off from this point that, you know, I've always been known as an AI maximalist, you know, ever since many years, and, you know, this decades before even, you know, ChatGPT came in. I think there was, you know, you can read a lot of science fiction or futurists predicting that, you know, AI would come in, it would transform healthcare and all that. And largely those predictions have been coming, you know, have been in place and reasonably on time, like, you know, so futurists like Ray Kurzweil, etc. spoke about this. The aspect I feel that is less covered overall, and probably in this discussion from the morning, is here's this amazing new technology that's come in, but and there will be a day when, you know, it'll play a huge role in whatever, you know, in healthcare, but there needs to be a lot of work done between, you know, where we are today and, like, you know, getting to, and that probably often gets ignored. So, you know, we have the technologists here developing foundation models, you know, and, you know, every 3 months, every 6 months. But just for this to get absorbed into healthcare practice, you know, I would say it would take like a good, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because it's very less understood. Like, healthcare is a very, very complex, like, you know, like surgical oncology. It's not even one thing. It's like talking about the lung, you're talking about the liver, you're talking about, you know, kidneys and all that. And we have a lot of projects going on, but every project is unique in that way. And I see people who either get like disappointed with the pace of AI, or some of those, you know, techno-utopian people, and they're like, okay, everything's done, and, like, you know, what are we going to do in the future now that AI is? I think there's a lot of work to be done between then and here. And I would say this you know, holding this session, you know, all the things that I talk about, is that doctors need to, you know, get into this a lot more. I don't know how many of the doctors here would actually be able to code an agent, but I think that's something like a basic skill, and I would say every human being now should start knowing,
You must remember that people like us were born, we are not digital natives. We are born when I walked into my newsroom in 35 years ago, there is not a single computer in the room. So from then to now, when everything, even live happens with this in the remotest of areas. But
so
center of a hospital is that doctor.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I just want to complete that point. So there's this concept called jagged intelligence. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that concept. So
Explain it to us.
one of the examples they give is like, you ask one of these leading models to write a beautiful poem, and they do sometimes come up with really, really touching poems. But you ask the model, how many R's are in the word strawberry, and some of you might be familiar with this. It's like it makes mistakes. So it's not uniform, like what is coming. It's not comparable completely with human intelligence, and we are just trying to we're just getting to figure it is intelligence, but it's a very different form of intelligence. So I think there's a huge effort, first of all, to understand what is and what is not possible, cataloging that intelligence, what is possible, what is not possible, and how do you train that. And I think if all the people all the engineers, all the healthcare people work together, we're probably looking at a 10-15 year effort just to get to all the things that we hope. See, if really doctors and hospitals were out of a job, it's an easy question of finding a livelihood for a few people. That's not the. I think all of us would pray for that. We want our parents to live longer. We want our kids to be healthy. And if you never have to visit a hospital or ever go to a doctor, I think we would always trade for that. Nobody would want to ever be in that position. So for our country, for our community, for our family, and for us as individuals, that's a future that we want. But it takes a humongous effort to get there, and I think that's something that probably gets missed in some of these pessimism, optimism scenarios.
So. Like I was saying, you mentioned that your wish that doctors also knew some coding. So doctors obviously are at the center of any healthcare facility delivering that healthcare service. What has your experience been? Obviously, doctors also know about the huge benefits. I mean, they were just listed all the benefits that we have been hearing about since the morning, and all of them through their experience know about it as well. Is it because of that fear of technology for somebody like me who is probably not tech savvy, and then that fear of technology? Is it the skepticism, or is it about the caution? Because obviously things sometimes go out of hand. We have seen examples of things happening like that when you're depending too much on an AI and it's not that thing. What do you see as your challenge? Cultural, technological, or very rightfully cautious?
I would say a lot of it could be attributed to a simple fact of inertia, right? So I think doctors have been trained in a particular way, they've operated in a particular way for a long time, and just because the technology's changed, the brain doesn't adapt. But having said that, I would say AI tools are probably the lowest. You don't need to know coding, you don't need to know, you can speak to the model, you don't even need to know how to type. It's one of the easiest things to learn and use. And I'm not even talking about if you're an experienced doctor, there's ways of you're actually contributing and developing a lot of knowledge, which gets the moment it's evaporated, right? It would benefit you, it would benefit your full clinical, all the patient pool, and it would benefit
your entire work.
So all that information goes away. So we're talking about experience. We train doctors, doctors retire. We train more doctors, doctors retire. How are we going to capture that? And
that knowledge can be
utilized, across. And I think that's so. Again, making a pitch. It's one of the easiest tools I've ever seen that you can learn, and it's almost self-explanatory in that sense that if you get stuck somewhere, hey, here's what I'm trying to do, help me figure it out. I think it's more a question of agency right now.
So in many senses, you are also suggesting perhaps that if it's a midterm training, to be able to bring people on board on this tech mission. So that again brings us to this. I mean, all of us know about how much of a controversy we are having about the medical entrance exams in India. Obviously, because it is the most aspired to kind of a thing, and huge aspiration to get there. And yet we know, years and years and years of study. And then we know that a lot of technology is making a lot of that learning not really redundant, I would say, but there is a fear, it knows a lot. So, your patient is coming to you after doing the ChatGPT and they also know. So that threat is there. So are you looking at medical education per se needs to evolve to reach there to be able to get this AI integrated into it? Obviously, the studying is not going to go away because knowledge is knowledge when human brain is applied to it. But is that where we are getting? I mean, you're saying coding should be a very important part of your brain training, I guess.
Just
not
to clarify,
really,
I'm not talking
the
about
prompting,
coding, but
not coding per se, but the prompt way to understand what technology can do for you.
The world is now even moving away from prompting. You can ask the model, here's my intent, this is what I want to do, write a prompt. You don't need to write a prompt. Like it is more about agency. And see, I think medical education will change, and there is absolutely no question about it. And it's been changing over the last 20 years. So at one point, see, the knowledge repository part was the most important part, right? People spent like years and decades spending it. And information is getting slowly democratized, easily accessible, retrievable. So you don't need to remember as much, like, when you have access to a lot of tools. And I would say, our friends here, like from Google, have made it like, organizing and retrieving information was made easier. So remembering that became less important. But now, the way I see healthcare evolving in the future is that, we put like, all these doctors are like, usually if you, get to medicine, you're like, 130 IQ guy, like you put in all these R's, and all that. Some of the work will get automated away, and that's the best opportunity you can have, because right now, the health system is loaded. Like doctors see like 30 patients
overburdened
a day. They're probably seeing 200 patients in a month. I speak to many of them, and they're like, yeah, I think about 180 patients we got right, but there are like a few patients, there's like more complications, but I just didn't have the time to get to digging more. And you know what, if they had spent more time digging more, then they wouldn't have been able to do justice to all the other people that are looking in. So they're making these trade-offs right now, which nobody talks about. And here's the opportunity, right? So if some of this gets automated, like some of the lower and direct ones, there's healthcare, there's so much more things that are being found. For example, like just in my personal case, I was recently diagnosed with like vitamin B1 deficiency. It's not B12, B1. It's one of the most easiest, vitamins to absorb. There's no way I should have that, but apparently, I have a rare genetic mutation that prevents, and this, I found out through my physician and going through that process, like, of the symptoms and, doing that, which, he had never seen that case in his life. He was like, this is the first time, I'm seeing somebody who's normal, otherwise have B1 deficiency. There are so many cases that, we miss right now, like, and, this gives us the opportunity to dig deeper into cases, and absolutely, people, healthcare is an area where you cannot have too much. Like you can never live too long, or you can never have less pains, or like you can that's one of those things that everybody wants, an infinite amount of wellness and life, and they call it the Dirgha Ayushman Bhava. So it's we can aim to live much longer, but we also have to cut back on some of the more routine work that can be automatable. So that way, I would say it's a 90%, 99% opportunity and a 1% adjustment kind of approach, which I know sounds a bit optimistic, but that's who I am, like, and that's what I believe.
Yeah, I think the earlier presentation he spoke about 10% AI is being used. I thought it's like the vast, you can't really make out where the end is. You can't see the other end of it. But as someone who invests in this money, I'm saying, it is obviously a very expensive proposition. And you spoke about the different organs and different kind of research areas in which you're investing. But with technology getting obsolete so fast, what you invest in today is tomorrow not valid anymore. How do you make your how do you take your call, and what do you prioritize? Obviously, you're going on doing it in whatever you see as the big problem statement of today. And second thing is, while individual hospitals can do this, what happens to the IPR there? Is there a thing that, like Google is saying, many of those things we can share and so on and so forth, the knowledge that comes out of it? I am unaware, so I'm asking you this question. There's no reason for rediscovering the wheel, spending that much of money. How do you strategize, and how does your return on investment, what is your calculation for that? I mean, is it bringing down cost efficiency? Obviously, patient outcome is something important, safety is important to you. How do you even realistically expect the return on your investment?
No, I would say, a lot of our investments directly, help us get back very, very valuable hours. Like, our doctors, our nurses, are burdened with a lot of patient care. And we can utilize that to provide care to more people. And, India has a huge access problem, even, we talk about the India 1, India 2 kind of thing. We still are serving, we're not serving everybody. And this is giving us a chance to, go serve more people. So that investment is fairly, in that sense, instantaneous. So, we have multiple products, so to say, within the system itself. They're trained, we have data scientists, we have vision guys, we have language guys, talking about the multimodal approaches. And, one of the most, this is the last one that, I was part of in the last week. So, this radiation therapy treatment planning. So, we're trying to take it from 35 minutes to 10 minutes, because you do the MRI, then you do the contouring, then you do all that. You know what? Once the you're compressing the time, you're able to make it accessible to more people. That that same machine, and there are some incidental benefits. Like I was just talking to somebody who went through that. So they have this cancer, and in 35 minutes they're sitting in a closed clinical room, and they're getting an MRI, it's making a noise, nobody's talking to you for 35 minutes, and you're getting treated. You reduce that. They were so compliance has gone up. People don't feel, people are not as scared about getting their treatment, etc. So I think the benefits for reasonably well-chosen projects are fairly immediate. But again, talking about the jagged frontier, once you get your hands dirty, you realize that some problems get solved faster than for example, one of the projects we had was prostate contouring. That got solved much faster. But when you do that same thing to abdominal contouring, it just took so much more effort than possible. And that's something that we are finding out, we are publishing, and we are showing this at different conferences, etc.
We spoke about beyond robotic, the other, the digital surgeries and so on and so forth. So one side is automated surgery, and the other one is the hand, the human thing. Who draws that boundary line? I mean, is it an individual surgeon who does that, or do you, when you introduce those technologies, do we say this much is possible that you allow the machine to operate, and then this much will be your human responsibility and accountability as well?
No, this is a very, very, very interesting and a little complicated topic. How do you, see, for pharma, it's been a little bit more there's a phase 1, where you have, safety, phase 2 efficacy, phase 3 and a large kind of thing. I think a similar model with variations, of course, to that will have to be adopted. And obviously safety comes first. So there's a sandbox, approach where you, are reasonably, how do you build that safety validation model becomes very, very important. And I think we learn a lot of lessons from life sciences, pharma. That's how, when a new drug comes in, it's the same question, should you take it, should you not take it? Similarly, I think the same kind of base logic applies to AI. And I think...
So is that regulation actually happening by some authorities? Or is it now hospitals or healthcare professionals devising it themselves and saying?
No, I think for now it's hospitals with their ethics committee, having that discussions and designing those protocols. But I would assume that that would become a lot more regulated. And there are various, our DCGI, etc., the drug controller actually have policy proposals in the pipeline for that.
So while in India people still are not so conscious about that privacy or the confidentiality itself, that must be a huge concern for organizations like yours when that question was asked about government, the across hospitals, sharing of data and so on and so forth. That is obviously going to be a big issue when we talk about.
No, definitely. I think that was pre-AI and it will become even much more important. So one of my responsibilities here is running IT and cyber security, and I think that's the one thing, because there's no, it has not been solved. It's always there's always every month, every year, we have to be ever vigilant. It's an arms race kind of thing, the hackers get smarter, and the defenses get better, and it's a continuous race, and it's a sensitive issue.
Last one, I must ask you this. It sounded like fiction when the SP of cybersecurity said those pacemakers getting hacked. So the next, you have fiction happening on that front. Are those actually real possibilities? They are, obviously, in the world of
and I would say even before the world of AI, this has been a possibility, and it's been a source of concern. And every company now, has talked about ransomware attacks, an institute like AIMS, one of the pride of the nation. All the computers get taken offline, and it's happened in our country. And
most companies don't talk about it. Many of them.
Yeah, they try to not talk about it, but it's a pre-AI concern. And if you've been following the press, Anthropic, at least claimed to have delayed a release of a model because it was identifying more cyber vulnerabilities, and they were trying to give time. So again, pre-AI, that competition existed. Now with AI models, we do our own security analysis and how to improve, but it needs constant vigilance.
So just to end this off on this note, are you saying hospitals of the future are going to have to invest in this technology in terms of research? Of course, you have partnership with all the tech giants and the academic institutions as well, but all of that coming together from an academic model to the clinical level, is that something that not just obviously private healthcare, but governments will also have to invest in?
Yeah, no, I think maybe it's a little bit extremist position. It's not just the hospitals, not just the government. I think every individual has to invest. It's every doctor, every journalist, will do this. It's just a matter of time. You can do it now or you can do it later, but I don't see a world in which you will not do it. It's easy enough to do, and it actually captures so much of our own essence. I'm sure you interact with people from different. So your line of questioning, what interesting. How can you further probe that? I think it'll help every journalist, and similar to the doctor, I think every doctor should have a personal AI agent. And it's not even something that, okay, X company sold it and I adopted it. I think you can open any. I'm fairly sure most of the people in the room have one of the AI models installed on their phone, and you can ask it okay, this is the journey, this is day one for me. Help me go through that, and you can. I think 98% you would get there. I think so yeah, I would recommend it for everybody, not just for the government.
Thank you so much.